everybody, it is Frankie here, and welcome to the 2024 NFL Week 5 predictions. Folks, let me tell you something. If you're out there working a 9-to-5 job and it's really difficult and you really want to just have so much money that you can retire already, other than starting a podcast or becoming an influencer, look at my picks and bet the opposite. If you do that, you will be in the Bahamas by next Monday. Trust me. Shall we start? Let's begin with our 2024 NFL Week 5 predictions, which are usually unreliable, but what the heck. You're here. You want to be entertained? You want some analysis? Want some picks that might be right? Let's go. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers and the Atlanta Falcons on Thursday Night Football. The Falcons are 2.5-point favorites. Baker Mayfield continues to bake. 347 yards, 3 TDs. Tampa Bay was completely dominant of a Phillies team that is really struggling here. But Baker just looked so excellent. And after last week where they collapsed against Denver and you were worried about them, they scored 3 touchdowns in the first 16 minutes. And then 4 overall in the game. They just completely exploited the Eagles defense. And this looks like a really fun Buccaneers team right now that we're watching. It's just delightful to see. Bucky Irving with the rookie with his first touchdown. They're just playing great right now in front of Brady. Baker and Brady had that war of words this week, but doesn't seem like that big of a deal. It seems like they were talking after the game. But Tampa Bay is just looking fantastic right now, especially on the offensive side. And it's great to see Baker Mayfield continue to look this good. Atlanta had arguably the win of the day, not in terms of the best performance, but the most exciting win. Coming down the field with a minute left, and then Young-Hoo kicking a kick that he has never kicked that he's made so far in the NFL, a 58-yard kick by Young-Hoo to win it for Atlanta. Atlanta scoring 26 points in this game with no offensive touchdowns, a muff punt, a pick six, and then 4 field goals. That's how you win a game against the New Orleans Saints, apparently, and the pick six was crucial too. Great job. Kirk Cousins, yet again. He does it all the time. A minute to go. In the regular season, he is the hottest guy you can have. He's the one guy you want. With a minute to go, you need to go down the field. He will do it. And yes, they scored. It was the first time since September 26, 2004 that Atlanta won without scoring an offensive touchdown. So that is certainly surprising. Great job by them pulling that off. Not the prettiest performance for Atlanta, but they got the job done. In this game here on Thursday night, I'm taking Tampa Bay. I like the way their offense is playing. And I don't want to do the hate Kirk Cousins thing because I've come around on him a little bit. But it is a divisional matchup, and Tampa Bay's offense, I feel like, is just a little bit better right now, and they're hotter. The divisional matchup, these things always get a little weird, so I think in this one here, Tampa Bay pulls it off and gets a big win over the Falcons. Give me Tampa plus 2.5 on Thursday Night Football. Over in bloody London, the New York Jets and the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are 2.5-point favorites. I promise I won't do the whole video like that. My accent is god-awful. It makes Dick Van Dyke look like, I don't know, the Queen. That was a terrible analogy. But either way, that was a terrible British accent. My apologies to the Brits. Speaking of people that need to apologize, the Jets for that horrendous, god-awful performance against Denver. Bo Nix had 60 passing yards? And he won? I mean, just everything about that game for the Jets was a disaster. Offense, just abysmal. Garrett Wilson with the fumble. Zerline with that terrible kick. The offensive line, trash, 5 sacks, 10 penalties. This team is so undisciplined. I don't know how much more. I mean, I don't think that there needs to panic if you're a Jet fan. Because, I mean, we saw them last week how dominant they could be, albeit that was against a terrible Patriots team. But it's just stuff like this. Like, are you ever going to go far if this is your coach? If Saleh is your coach and he's so undisciplined this many years in? What is it, like year 3, year 4 of Saleh and he's still this undisciplined? And Nathaniel Hackett, my God, terrible offensive coordinator. I don't know why this guy keeps getting jobs. It's the 5th time in Rodgers' career that his offense failed to generate a touchdown. Yeah, and Rodgers wasn't great either. 24 for 42, 225 yards, albeit that the offensive line did not help him at all. They almost won this game. They had the kick there at the end, but just wasn't meant to be. I mean, and Breece Hall, wow, 10 carries, 4 yards. Like, you can't even try to be that bad, dude. That was humiliating there. So a terrible performance from him. Vikings, on the other hand, are about as hot of a team as you could be right now. And let me apologize to the Minnesota Vikings. As you know, if you follow this channel, I was one of those that was very disrespectful about the Vikings. I wasn't sold about them. I picked the Packers last week. I was dead wrong. I was dead wrong. I didn't think Jordan Love. I thought maybe Jordan Love would be a little bit healthier than that, but regardless, that was an incredible performance by Minnesota. It's been an incredible performance all year. Sam Darnold is a legitimate MVP candidate in week 4. That is something I never thought I would say, but it is true. He had, 2 touchdowns in this game? Maybe even more than that. Jefferson had a great touchdown. You had just Aaron Jones with a 100-yard day. With all of that, and Darnold is the star of this, I mean, they had gone 6 consecutive possessions without scoring a touch when the Packers made a one-score game early in the fourth quarter, and yet Kevin O'Connell trusted Darnold to go in there and have a fantastic drive that led to the field goal that won them the game. Even before that, they were amazing on offense. The touchdown to Jefferson early on. Kevin O'Connell, as I've said, coach of the year. It's hard to see if this keeps going how it's not going to be him. But just a beautiful offensive day for Minnesota, and they've just been completely dominant. And I apologize to Minnesota. And yes, late in the game was rough. Late in the game was kind of a struggle. But, them stumbling and having Green Bay almost come back. But they got it done, so congratulations to them. Addison with 2 touchdowns in the game. I love watching this team. They're a legitimate NFC contender, albeit it's week 4. And to apologize to make it up for Vikings fans, as long as the Vikings keep playing like this, I'm going to keep picking them. So even though I want the Jets to win here, Minnesota in London, 2.5 points. Give me the Vikings to roll over the Jets. If the Jets keep having problems like this, then Minnesota should handle this one pretty easily. Give me the Vikings minus 2.5 to keep the good times rolling over there across the Atlantic. The Carolina Panthers and the Chicago Bears. The Bears are 3.5-point favorites. Tough loss for Carolina. Andy Dalton, though, he should remain the starter going forward. He's played much better for them. 25 for 40, 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, and a pick in this game. But they weren't able to come back against Cincinnati. They gave Cincinnati their first win of the year. Bears, on the other hand, who had DeAndre Swift having this game? DeAndre Swift has done nothing for 3 games, and all of a sudden he picks this game to completely ball out against the Rams. The Bears defense, if there's anything that's going to really carry this team, it's probably not even Caleb Williams. It's how great this defense is. Just absolutely electric all game long. Williams had a fine game, 17 for 23, 157 yards and a touchdown. The important thing is that he's getting better with each game. And he was 8 for 9 against the Rams blitz today. 8 for 9, 75 yards with a touchdown. So there's something you can look forward to and think, all right, maybe Caleb is getting better. That's what you want. He's not as good right now as Jaden Daniel is, which might be an issue down the line. But right now, all you can hope for is that he's continuing to develop. That's what he's doing. So that's good news for Bears fans. I think that continues here. Panthers have, Andy Dalton, the Panthers run has been cool the last 2 weeks. It's been cool seeing him out there, but I think the Bears defense is really going to lock down. And at home, I think Caleb is going to have a good performance. I don't know if it's going to be a great Jaden Daniels kind of performance, but I think it will be good enough. And I think the Bears get the win here in Chicago and keep it rolling here. I mean, they've done a fantastic job. Mostly, again, credit to the defense. Caleb hasn't been bad, but credit to the defense especially. And I think that continues in this game. Give me the Bears, minus 3.5. The Baltimore Ravens and the Cincinnati Bengals. The Ravens are 2.5-point favorites. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new second-best team in the AFC, and we may even have a best team in the AFC because I don't know how the Chiefs are good. Even though the Chiefs are 4-0, I have no idea how they continue to do it. Baltimore might be the best team in the AFC if you just look at it on eye test. I thought it was the Bills, but this game on Sunday night made me realize that is a wrong opinion. 209 total yards from Derrick Henry. He's 30 years old, and the man is still performing this well. The return of the king, indeed. Watching Derrick, and especially that 87-yard run at the beginning of the game. Electrifying. Lamar had a really good game. The stats don't prove that. 13 for 18, 156 yards, 2 TDs, no picks. But if you watch the game, he was really good. He was really effective. And he was very controlling of the game. It was great. And, of course, you don't need to do all that much when Derrick Henry's there. So, great performance there by Lamar. The entire Ravens offense, this was especially after the struggle that they've had the first 3 weeks, being 1-2, they needed this so badly. They did just that. They were electric. Kyle Van Noy strip sack, which was maybe the most important play of the game because it stopped the Bills' momentum cold. The Baltimore pass defense limited Allen to 180 yards. They were just in complete control of this game, and it was very surprising to see. I picked the Bills, shocked at how well they played. So good job by the Ravens here, and yeah, they're still good. And they played a whole game, 4 quarters, which is a rarity for the Ravens this year. Credit to them. Props to them. Cincinnati, they get their first win, and they keep their season alive. I thought about last week, was I ready to run off the Bengals? I'll say, no, this game keeps them in contention. I don't know if they're going to make it, but they're still alive. Despite the fact that the Cincy defense was bad in this game, the receivers were dropping passes. Their defense, though, did have a good moment on the goal line stand early in the game. That was good. But they still have a lot of problems. The offense was stalling in the second half. They did well in the first half. Most impressive play of the day was the Jamar Chase 63-yard touchdown. Reminded you of how good he can be. And you hope that he's still 100% in it right now, because if he is, and I know he's talking back to the media and all of that, but when he wants to play and he's motivated and he's great, he's terrific. And we saw that here in this game. That was a big time play. Cincinnati now needs another win here. I don't think they're going to get it. Baltimore, too good. The offense right now in control. And even though Cincinnati's at home, so it could be a difficult situation in this case, I'm going to trust the Ravens. I think the Ravens go over 500. I think Cincinnati goes to 1-4. And in that case, they will really be out of it. Give me the Ravens -2.5 to win this one in Cincinnati. The Cleveland Browns and the Washington Commanders. The Commanders are 3.5-point favorites. This Browns team is rough. Okay. I hate Deshaun Watson as much as any, feminist does, as any man who likes, and respects women does. And I'm not saying he's great, but this isn't all his fault. The team around him is terrible. I mean, if you want to blame him, fine, whatever, but it's not. I actually thought that was his best game, which is kind of sad. He has so many problems. I mean, they drop so many passes. The O-line is horrific. The defense has really fallen off. And, I mean, they were one of the best in the NFL last year, which is one of the reasons why they were so good. And this year, I mean, they allowed the Raiders to have 150 rushing yards, and they don't have Devontae Adams. And they have most of the guys from last year, so that's what's really concerning. But just a failure of a game there. Yes, the mistakes, the drop interception by Amari Cooper, not Amari Cooper, but Cooper. Just the mistakes, the interception, the missed extra point. So many bad, inexplicable mistakes in this game. And yes, you have 3 offensive line guys who are injured, and then you had another one, Ethan Pock, suffered an injury mid-game. So you have 16 quarterback pressures. They've allowed double-digit pressures in all 4 games. They need to get better there, but yeah, the offensive line's a real mess right now. It's not all, God forbid me defend Deshaun Watson, but I think it's not all his fault here, but it's a rough situation right now in Cleveland. It's just getting worse and worse and worse, and yeah, this is an issue there. Washington, on the other hand, wow. This is an incredible story. Jaden Daniels, 26 for 30, 280 all-purpose yards, 2 touchdowns, a pick. The offense, explosive right now. Cliff Kingsbury, he might be a head coach next year. I wouldn't mind seeing him as head coach of the Giants or the Jets, the way things are going. Although I will say, he might be a better coordinator than a head coach, but I think a lot of people are going to be tempted to think, let's give him another shot. Maybe this time we'll put a good situation around him, and maybe he'll be good. But he is a fantastic offensive mind, and we saw that here yet again. The way he's really helped Washington here. 16 straight drives with a score. And why can't this team win the NFC East right now? The Eagles are struggling. The Cowboys, we saw them on Thursday night. They're not world beaters. Giants have their issues. Why can't the Commanders win the NFC East? If you have Daniels keeps playing like this, they've only punted once in the last 3 games. They scored 101 points. The run game is excellent right now. Brian Robinson rushing for 102 yards. No Austin Eckler, no problem. The defense even stepped up. Defense has been the biggest issue so far. They stepped up in this game. Why can't they win the NFC East? Why not? I can totally see it here. I would hate to see that because I want to see the Giants do it, but the Giants, I'm giving up on them. But Washington right now is playing out of this world, and their offense is fantastic. They're just real dual threat over there with Daniels, and it's just an explosive offense to watch, and I think it keeps up here. Cleveland struggles continue. I mean, can they get to if the offensive line is this bad, I think Washington, even with their defensive struggles, will get to them, and the offense will be dynamic. Give me the Commanders -3.5 and keep it up here against Cleveland. The Jaden Daniels story rolls on in Washington. The Indianapolis Colts and the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Jaguars are 3-point favorites. Anthony Richardson hurt again, which is an issue. He's played in 8 of possible 21 career NFL games, and he hasn't finished half of those due to injury. You don't want to see this be the injury-prone thing, but it might be. And how about this by Stain Sheeshan? So Richardson comes out of the game. He has a right pivot injury. He misses a few snaps. Then he comes back in the game, and on the first play, now it was a read, but they called a run. It was a read option. Richardson decided to run for it. I don't know why that was the play call there. He does run for it. He does dive pretty lousily. But I don't know why that's not a drop back. You don't want him to get hurt again. But yeah, Richardson, I think he'll be okay next week, but we'll see. But it might not be an issue because Joe Flacco, which I don't know why teams didn't think of having him as a starter. We saw how good he was last year with Cleveland. I don't know why people didn't think he could do it again. But 16 passes, 168 yards, 2 touchdowns, 105.9 quarterback rating. Picked the Colts up and got them their first win over a really good Pittsburgh team, and we thought it was a great defense, and they might still be, but he was just steady throughout. He was the short throws. He had some aggressive throws there, and the offensive line was stepped up. Michael Pittman had a great game. Good game out of Jonathan Taylor. It was a much-needed win for the Colts, and now they travel to Jacksonville, and I am ready now. I think I may have done it last week. I'm now officially ready to put the hammer in the Jaguar season. There's no hope for this season. It's done. It's over. They're 0-4. The defense, bad. I mean, you had the lead there, couldn't hang on. Lawrence, I didn't think was terrible in this game, but I mean, he wasn't great. I mean, he played better than he had been. An issue there. He did miss some deep shots that could have been TDs. He is what he is at this point, and I still have no idea why the Jaguars gave him that contract because there really was no reason to. You could have let him go. I mean, I guess you can't. He's not bad enough to let go, but he's not good enough to have this contract, and you're gonna be stuck with him just for a few years. There, it's an issue, and Doug Peterson might be the first one out of here. It's him or Sirianni for the Eagles. Sirianni actually might get there, save it because the Eagles are 2-2, but Peterson's 0-4, and he has the nerve to complain to reporters about why you question me about my job security. You should be lucky you still have a job, Doug. What are you, lost 9 out of your last 10? Calm down. Just the Jaguars have fully collapsed here. So why can't the Colts win? Even if it's Richardson, even if it's Flacco, there's no reason to think right now that Jacksonville should win this game, even though they're at home. They've completely collapsed, and it's only getting worse. They'll get a win eventually. They're not going to go 0-17. But I don't think it's in this game. Jacksonville is on really, really treacherous waters here, and I think Indianapolis will take advantage of that. Give me the Colts, +3 against Jacksonville. The Buffalo Bills and the Houston Texans. The Texans are a 1.5 favorite. Thought long and hard about this one. Thought about taking Houston. Rough loss for the Bills. Terrible loss. I mean, but they had been great up until the last few weeks. The first 3 weeks, we were all impressed with them. And in this game, the offense, concerning. Allen only 180 yards, no touchdowns, no picks. Awful play call there when you're actually trying to get things going and you go that stupid, that stupid trick play that Allen fumbles. No need for that. I mean, Allen shouldn't have fumbled the ball, but regardless, there were some backups in the Bills defense, and Baltimore really took advantage of that. That was the end of their 41 straight streak of scoring more than 10 points. 41 straight regular season games. They went 2-11 on third down. Offensive line, really couldn't stop Allen at all, or couldn't protect Allen at all. And once that Henry run happened, the 87-yard run, and I'm not going to blame them for not stopping Derrick Henry because it seems like very few people can. But once that happened, it just seemed like they were just dead from there, and they really couldn't do anything about it. They couldn't salvage it. Tough loss, but I still believe in this Bills team. I still believe they're a great team. I think it was just an off night. So I'm taking them here against Houston. And while Houston won this game, impressive. Coming back against Jacksonville, good job by C.J. Stroud, Onubale with the touchdown there. Diggs with his first rushing touchdown. Nico Collins is making the claim to be a top 10 receiver, maybe even higher than that. This team, though, is very sloppy. So many penalties, so many mistakes, multiple penalties wiped out on first downs, and it's in this game, and they're just a really sloppy team. There's just so many mistakes, and they have the injuries too that have been a concern for them. There's just a lot of issues right now with even though Houston, is getting the wins. They're still not all the way there yet. And I feel like even though the Bills, that game really was maybe exposed some of the weaknesses with the Bills, I still feel like they're much more balanced. I just think it was a bad night against a really great Ravens team. Even though Buffalo's on the road here, I'm taking the Bills. I'm taking them to pull off the upset against this Texan team with a bunch of mistakes. A very talented team with a lot of mistakes. Give me the Bills +1.5. This is going to be a great game. I hate the fact that it's a 1 o'clock game on CBS. This should be a 4:25 or an 8 game. But it'll be 1 o'clock. And hopefully it'll be a very exciting game as the Bills travel to Houston, two of the best teams in the AFC. Tough schedule here for the Bills. Ravens and the Texans back-to-back, but I think in this one they will get the win. Give me the Bills +1.5 to pull off the upset in Houston. Las Vegas Raiders and the Denver Broncos. I have nothing to say about this game. Broncos are 2.5-point favorites. Okay. Ravens won. We credit them. Job well done. Good job. But this team's not really going anywhere. Denver, on the other hand, I mean, that was an ugly, ugly win. Bo Nix, 60 passing yards. He averaged 2 yards an attempt. And the Broncos won anyway. That's football, Susan. I'll take Denver. I have to take somebody in this game. Both of these teams are really two of the 5 worst teams in the league. I'll take Denver because I just have to. But yeah, I'm not looking forward to this game. Don't put it on Red Zone, please. Put on anything else. The Arizona Cardinals and the San Francisco 49ers. The Niners are 7.5-point favorites. This was an embarrassing performance from Arizona. I mean, albeit against a red-hot Washington team, but I expected a little bit more. I don't know why Marvin Harrison's not getting the ball more. He didn't get a catch. He had 3 catches on 4 targets in the first quarter, and then he didn't get another catch until the third quarter. Are they double teaming him? Maybe I don't know why it's not. You have a great receiver like Harrison there. Give him the ball. Kyler and company are just not. They're not clicking consistently. They should be. But now they're 1-3. They have a tough schedule coming up, and it just seems like things are going to get worse. Offense is bad. Defense rough. Just everything. I mean, they took the lead early on in the game, and then they were outscored 27-0 after that. They punted on 3 straight possessions after scoring. Turnover on downs, a punt in the first drive of the third quarter. Just a dynamic offense. Now, again, Washington's hot, but I would expect a little bit more fight from Arizona at home, and we just didn't see it. So that was really surprising to me. San Francisco is fine. You were concerned about them, worried. Now they're fine. Fred Warner with one of the best defensive plays of the year. He might be defensive player of the year by the time. Watt and Hutchinson were the favorites heading into this week, but Warner might be picking up some votes here, especially with that amazing pick six that he had. Purdy touchdown to Kittle. I don't know how he did that. He's George Kittle. That's how he did it. Triple coverage. He's covered. 3 guys are covering Kittle, and he still just no problem scores that touchdown. Bosa with the strip sack. They needed this victory. They have a lot of injuries, 1 and 2, a lot of concerns, and they still. And you have Kittle's dealing with a rib injury. Warner left the game with an ankle injury. It's just, and yet they still found a way to win this game because there's just so much talent on this team, and they were just dominant, and they really made a sorry New England offensive line look completely and utterly overmatched. So credit to them, props to them, and they're an awesome team here. I do think they'll win this game here against Arizona. 7.5 is a big number, though. 7.5 is a huge number, and I still do believe it's a divisional matchup, and I still do believe in the talent of Arizona. There's pieces there. I think they'll make it close. I don't think they'll win, but I think they'll make it close. I think Arizona can make this a one-possession game. Again, I don't think they'll win. I think San Francisco gets the win here because they're too talented to lose this game at home. But I think Arizona will cover this one here. It's going to be an interesting matchup, but give me the Cardinals plus 7.5 to cover against San Francisco. Green Bay Packers and the Los Angeles Rams. The Green Bay Packers are 4-point favorites. I really think, watching that game, I was like, they brought Love up too soon. I know you don't want a quarterback controversy, but maybe Willis should have gotten one more game here. Although it sounds like from what Love said, this might be an issue that he deals with for the rest of the year. And if that's the case, that could be just terrible. It seemed like it was affecting his accuracy. It was very fitting that Jordan Love comes in, he wears a Brett Favre jersey. Interesting, by the way, that you want to... I know Brett Favre was a great quarterback, but to acknowledge Brett Favre, the person, a little strange. But whatever. So he wears the Brett Favre jersey coming in, and then he plays like Brett Favre. He has 4 TDs and 3 picks. Vintage Favre performance. The gunslinger mentality. You gotta love it. But yeah, the accuracy there for Love there was all over the place. There was also a Tucker Kraft fumble. There was a Love had threw an interception off a receiver. There were drops in this game by Wicks, by Reed, by Dobbs. Second career 3 interception game for Jordan Love. The cover could not cover Minnesota effectively, although not a lot of people had. Their kicker missed 2 kicks in this game. Neverson, it looks like they're probably going to get a new one next week. I think they have to. Although credit to Green Bay, they fought back. They really fought back. It was a 28-0 game. They tried to fight back, but Minnesota was just too dominant. So it showed some character, but not enough for Green Bay to get the win. Rams, on the other hand, tough loss. I'm almost ready to, if they lose this game here, I'm ready to bury the Rams. The O-line, bad. Defense, struggle. Kyron Williams, God bless him, he's doing everything he can to salvage this team. They're losing receivers left and right, and he's like, I'm going to carry this team. He and Stafford. And Williams had seven straight games for Williams with a touchdown. Unfortunately, it is not enough. Team struggles in the red zone. They only scored 1 touchdown on 4 trips to the red zone. Didn't convert third down a lot. 5 for 11 on third down, 45%. Josh McCarty missed a kick. Just issues here with the Rams, and they're not really showing it right now of what they can be. Again, one more loss, I think, will end the season for them. They'll take them totally out of the race. But Green Bay's a 4-point favorite. And Jordan Love's ankle, I don't care how good it is or how bad it is. He's too good. He's too dominant. He can be fantastic when he wants to be. And I think he'll be fantastic in this game. I think he'll be motivated by the bad performance against Minnesota. He'll take a step up. And they'll win this one. And the Rams are just the Rams are ready to fall apart here. So give me the Packers -4 to get the win here against Los Angeles and to get Jordan Love's first win of the year, which would be a crazy thing to think about. The Dallas Cowboys and the Pittsburgh Steelers. The Steelers are 2-point favorites. That was a Thursday Night Football performance by the Cowboys. It was ugly. It was anemic, but they won. They need to win against the Giants. They did that because they always beat the Giants. Defense really shut down Giants there, but yeah, the offense was kind of just whatever. A lot of dink and dunk. 22 for 27 for Dak, though. Threw outside that. 10 for 12, throws for 117 yards and a touchdown. Inside the numbers, he was 12 for 14 for 104 yards and a touchdown. So yeah, maybe dink and dunk was probably a little bit insulting, but it wasn't the dynamic Dallas. They were good early on, and then there were a lot of fogs in that game too. They were good early on, and then they really came back down to earth after the first 2 touchdowns. But they got the win, and they needed that win. They could not afford to go 2-2 or 1-3. But I think they'll be 2-3. Despite the Steelers today losing, I was so impressed with Justin Fields. Even though he had that terrible fumble, he looked awesome. 22 for 34, 314 yards, a touchdown, no interceptions, 104 passer rating. He ran for 55 yards. He had 2 touchdowns. His best game as a Steeler. As we've said, do not put Russell Wilson back in there. It has got to be Justin Fields from now until the end of the year. As long as he plays like this, it's got to be Justin Fields. The real problem in this game was the defense. The defense, which had been so dominant for the Steelers, really just fell apart against Indianapolis. They let Joe Flacco, albeit Joe Flacco's, I guess, pretty good, but they let Flacco just carve them up in that game. But you watching Justin Fields here, you just see that they have a great quarterback, and it's unfortunate because Fields balled out, and the team just could not. He was carrying the team on his back, and the team just did not respond. I think they will, though, in this game. I think we get another great performance from Fields. It's at home. I imagine the Pittsburgh defense is going to be motivated to bounce back after their dreadful performance yesterday. So I think they will step up in this spot. 2 points at home. Give me the Steelers -2. I'm kind of hoping for this too. I don't want to see Dallas succeed. Biased here as a Giants fan. But even with that, I think Pittsburgh at home, and I think they're the better team right now. So give me the Steelers -2 over Dallas. The Monday night game, the New Orleans Saints and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are 5-point favorites. New Orleans does not allow an offensive touchdown, and they still lose the game because Shaheed muffed the punt. They allow pick 6, and they let Atlanta they had the defensive pass interference call, which was clear defensive pass interference on that last play. And they let Koo kick the 58-yard field goal. They win that one. Rough one there for New Orleans. And the last couple of weeks, we've started to see the Saints' dynamic offense that we saw at the beginning of the year, the electrifying offense, the explosive offense, kind of drop off a little bit. It helps that Taysom Hill, it was weird. Taysom Hill, he scores 2 touchdowns, then he leaves with an injury, and they really weren't the same after that. So, are the Saints, was that kind of a fluky Saints performance there at the beginning of the year? I don't know. Despite the fact that Kamara was really exceptional today. Despite his injury, 77 yards rushing, 42 yards receiving. Took a lot of shots, scored the go-ahead touchdown. Unfortunately, it wasn't enough. He did everything he could, but it was just not enough there for New Orleans there, and tough loss there against Atlanta. I have no idea how Kansas City's 4-0. I want someone to explain it to me. Mahomes has not looked great. The receivers, it's just kind of anemic. Mostly it starts at Mahomes. They're kind of sloppy. Mahomes is on a pick in 8 straight games. Mahomes kills Rashid Rice. He just tackles him. He tears his ACL. He's out for the year. And Mahomes is kind of like, after the game, kind of non-emotional about it. Just like, it happened. Which was kind of crazy to think. He had the Carson Steele's fumble. He had a bad Mahomes pick, as we mentioned. The team really hasn't been world beaters. They've won every game by 1 possession, and yet they're 4-0. How is this possible? Well, because Mahomes, when he wants to, will step up. And he'll throw, at one moment you'll think, oh God, Mahomes, what is he doing there? He's too good to be doing this. And then he'll throw a bomb to Worthy. And it's like, yep, that's Mahomes. Mahomes always waits for the perfect time to be Mahomes. I saw somebody say, it's like the regular season is his preseason. This is all all right, I'll just figure it out and I'll just coast by. And then don't worry, in the playoffs, we'll be fine. He did this last year, although, last year I felt like it was a little bit better because the defense was a little bit more dominant. But this year, especially, he's been okay. Again, interceptions in 8 straight regular season games is not great, but they've won pretty much all those games. So what does it matter? He'll have the Brett Favre moments, and it doesn't matter because he's Mahomes, and he'll be able to figure it out. Also, credit, Kelsey looked great today, which is important. And Kareem Hunt also had a nice game, which was good to see that for Kansas City because they needed that. So good performance there by Kansas City. And, they weren't able to cover the spread. It was, 8.5 against the Chargers. They won by 7. So it was an ugly win, but a good win regardless for Kansas City. And now we have a game here against New Orleans. And this might be a bad pick by me. I might be regretting this. Double checked it with myself, and not real sure, but I like New Orleans to cover. Because as we mentioned, Kansas City, 4 games have not won by more than 1 possession. So we've seen some issues here. We've seen the inconsistency. And so I say in this game, I think the Saints can lose this game by 3 or 4. I think it'd be a really close game. Kansas City will win, I think. They'll be 5-0 at home. Maybe Taylor will be there. She's not been in the last 2 games. Trouble in Paradise? Who cares? But I think it will be a close, exciting game because New Orleans, I think they'll find it with their offense, Kamara. And the Chiefs don't really play a lot of games right now, which are winning by more than 10 or 7 or 5 in this case. But But I think New Orleans is going to cover for that reason. But I think Kansas City will win because of the talent that they have. And Mahomes is going to be Mahomes eventually. He'll figure it out. Somewhere in the game, he'll figure it out and he'll be vintage Mahomes. So give me the Saints here, +5. I like the Chiefs to win, but give me the Saints +5 to cover on Monday night against Kansas City. That's it for now, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you're new to the channel, to see, make sure you subscribe down below. I'll be back tomorrow with predictions for Dolphins, Patriots, and Giants, Seahawks. I have not made those picks yet because I'm waiting for Monday night to make those picks. I'll see you guys then. Take care, and God bless.